It's going down to the wire. Remember the 5th of November, just 2 weeks away now, and the American presidential election is still too close for the experts to call. Around the world, calls are going out from Republicans and Democrats to Americans abroad in the hope they will tilt the balance. There are around 1.6 million US voters living abroad who are eligible to vote in one of the 7 battleground states, which will determine who becomes president. So very high stakes indeed. I'm joined now by the assistant editor of the Times US, David Charter. David, very good to have you on the show. I was reading today that inside the Kamala Harris campaign, there are now real worries and wobbles about what's going to happen in what used to be called the blue wall states, those kind of, Midwestern, very, very strongly Democratic states that she needs to win.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew. And the reason for that is because when she first took over from Biden, there was tremendous excitement among the Democrats. It really revived the potential for her winning a route to the White House through the southern swing states, which are known as the Sun Belt states, which is fundamentally 4 states in the South that are real battlegrounds, very hard to call: North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. What we've seen since then is they have really tightened to the point where Trump is he could well hold North Carolina. And without that, there isn't really a Sun Belt route, and he's ahead in Arizona. And so it's going to come back to those 3 states in the North, in the Rust Belt, which Joe Biden flipped in 2020. So that's Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And they are extremely close. And they are also states where Biden had in 2020 a certain appeal as quite a well-known guy who was born in Pennsylvania with a blue-collar reach, obviously an older white guy with a blue-collar reach. And along comes the new candidate, a black woman from California with a liberal reputation. It's not the same appeal that Biden had, and that's why the nervousness is beginning to creep in. Now the honeymoon period is fading for Harris.
No, absolutely. And alongside that, it appears, or I read, that Donald Trump is doing better among young black men and among Hispanic men, 2 groups you'd have thought would be pretty solidly Democrat.
That's another thing we've been observing. And I was out in Pennsylvania in Biden's hometown of Scranton, where he was born and brought up, just 3 weeks ago. And I thought I'd take a little trip down Joe Biden Street, which they've renamed one of the main shopping and business areas in Scranton after him. And it's a blue town. It's voted Democrat pretty reliably throughout the last few decades. And I was quite surprised to find among the businesses there especially a lot of support for Donald Trump. And it comes back to, and as you rightly point out, not just among white voters, but among younger Hispanic and younger black men especially. And it comes back to mainly the economy and prices. Prices in Pennsylvania are up with a cumulative inflation of over 20% since Biden took office. And however you explain the reasoning for that, the global pressures that may be behind it, it's on Biden's watch. And the Trump campaign has a very strong appeal on the economy was better under Trump.
And is it possible, really, that US voters abroad, I say 1.6 million of them in the 7 swing states, could actually change the election? What would the effect be of that, Americans abroad deciding who the president was?
Yeah, there are obviously different types of Americans abroad. There are expats who might be a little wealthier, a little more liberal and better educated with a higher level of education, who are more Democrat leaning. And then there's lots of military posted abroad, a lot of whom might be first-time voters or younger men who tend to trend towards Trump. So it's very hard to know what a big vote from the overseas vote will mean. But I can tell you, in 2020, in the 3 closest states, the total margin of Biden's victory was 44,000 votes. So if you're looking at 1.6 million out there, there's no wonder the campaigns are going after them.
Well, I, for one, will be putting no money at all on the result. David Chutter of the Washington Bureau of the Times newspaper, thank you very much indeed. Now, come